What we're really looking for is an ambassador, and you'd like somebody who can really represent South Africa well and do our industry proud.
My name's Colin Lunsky. When I left the Royal Navy, I started in insurance, and then I went and did my NQFs from 4 to 6 through UNISA.
My name is Belisa Muchani. I did a 3-year course, a BCom degree in risk management and economics. I'm currently doing my commercial course with Millpark.
I'm Reese Aaron. I would describe my personality as someone that's very competitive. I also always try and put the best into whatever I do.
Hi, my name is Mitesh Larkar. Started off doing a BCom at Wits University. I then enjoyed insurance the most, and I'm currently a master's student at Wits Business School.
Hello, my name is Jake Pinicini. I attended the University of the Western Cape, where I completed my LLB. I realized how I could apply it to the insurance industry and then consciously made the decision.
My name is Ditebogo Mokhalaboni. I was working in a non-profit organization in education, and I met a lady who introduced me to insurance, and as they say, the rest is history.
My name's Kishan Van Mali. I don't know if insurance chose me or if I chose insurance. Having studied risk management, I thought it would be a good opportunity when it did present itself.
My name is Gillian Riley. In terms of my competition, I probably shouldn't say this, but I think they're all pretty awesome people. I'm worried about Joburg. Joburg's my competition. That's who I'm here to win against.
Reflecting on yesterday, I'd have to say I think the apprentices left a little shell-shocked. We didn't really give them a chance to ease into the task. They arrived and they were sort of pushed straight into a really challenging task that was set by Aon, and none of them really shone. We had a couple actually that really struggled. We decided not to fire anyone yesterday.
Yesterday, it was not my best performance. I was very much in the box, and I tried to make the task come into my line of expertise instead of trying to put myself out there and thinking more outside the box.
Yesterday was a very interesting day. The boardroom was very insightful. We learned a lot. It was interesting how the team wanted to vote me out, but it was a very great learning experience, and I enjoyed it.
Yesterday's boardroom session was really intense. We got a feeling as a team of what the rest of the competition would be like. Judges didn't take any chances. I think as a team we've worked together and we utilized each other's strengths, and that came out, and because we worked in collaboration, we were able to win the task.
Welcome back, guys. This is the second task. It, of course, gives me great pleasure to welcome our guest judges from Emerald, who are sponsoring today's task. And I'm going to hand you over to Carla Jordan, and she'll tell you a little bit about Emerald.
Thanks, Simon. So my name is Carla Jordan. I'm the CFO and the Head of International Business for Emerald. Emerald is the largest corporate underwriter of property business in Africa. And 4 years ago, we decided to diversify our business even further into the Middle East and Southeast Asia. And what we realized after about a year of doing that business is that it's completely different to anything we've ever done in Africa. And we've been doing business in Africa for almost 15 years. It's not only 31 different territories with their own individual nat cat exposures, but it's also different work weeks in some instances, different time zones, different cultures, different currencies. It's just different. And the task today is really something different, and it may require you to think a little bit out of the box.
So this is our second year being involved with the Insurance Apprentice, and we're very excited to be able to have our own task again this year. And we decided to mix it up a little bit this year. So
As Emerald, we're very passionate about growing people and educating people and really exposing people to different types of risks. And so that's what our task is about today, really.
Thanks, Carla. Before Chris takes over, you should know that I had to give him my Judge Dredd mug last year because he was actually a lot more brutal. So keep that in mind as we move through the task. Chris?
Thank you, Simon. Welcome, all your apprentices. I'll give you an idea of what the task is about, and then I'll tell you what the task is. You're a facultative reinsurance underwriter for a company called Out Reinsurance Pty Limited, the largest South African reinsurance company who recently extended its capabilities to underwrite and accept property risks outside of South Africa, in Asia and the Middle East. Okay, so you have to think as an underwriter. Huh? The task you've been set today, you have to consider all the information that you've been given in your packs, and you'll get those when you get through to the workrooms. You've been presented that by a reinsurance broker, and you have to underwrite and assess the risk. Okay? It's your responsibility to determine whether Out Reinsurance Company will offer capacity or not. Yeah? Preparing and presenting to the panel of judges your decision and the clear analysis and your opinion of the risk and why you chose to put down the capacity that you did. And that's the task. Advice that I would give them would be to look at the information they have, read the treaty, read the survey report, read the underwriting authority and the information that's put to them. And one thing I would really tell them to look at and to remember it is the right of exchange. To look at that.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Sam.
Katie, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, good morning, contestants. From my side, if you look at the task, it says consider, which means you need to apply your mind to what you'll be doing today, but more importantly, to make sure that you focus on the task at hand and bring us the results that we are expecting. Okay, good luck.
Thanks, Katie. Before I tell you who the teams are, I'd just like to remind you that in prior seasons we have let somebody go on the second task. So you really need to bring your A game today or you may not be here tomorrow. The teams for today, in Group 1, we've got Colin, Mitesh, Palesa and Ditebogo. In Group 2, we've got Kishan, Jake, Gillian and Reese. You're dismissed.
My biggest competition is probably Reese. Yes, or perhaps Colin even.
So in this particular competition, I think Palisa's taken the lead in the group. She said that she's got quite a bit of background in reinsurance. So it's been quite nice. Actually, I think that's maybe why we've got a bit of harmony, is that I'm happy to work with her and under her as such.
My biggest competition, I believe, maybe it's one of the ladies and maybe Colin.
In the whole competition, I believe Colin is my threat. He's very knowledgeable, very mature.
Aha, all of these need to be included in here.
All right, everyone, you've got half an hour to go. Okay?
Yes.
Please start wrapping up.
Oh, wow, thanks.
And then we're ready for you for presentations. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think the weakest person in the team today is Jake Penacini. And the reason for that is I think reinsurance is very, very technical.
So I actually wanted to understand the question. Would you be able to help us with that?
Sure.
It depends. Ask me the question, I'll tell you.
Indicate any gap in subjectivities between slip and your treaty.
Okay, so you have your treaty, your reinsurance treaty, which you have the summary of, and you have your slip. There's some subjectivities on your slip. You need to make sure that your treaty covers everything.
Time's ticking, guys. Your solution, that's what we need now. Right.
The weaker player in my team may still be Ditebogo as per yesterday. However, I've not engaged with her at all today. So we're trusting her still to deliver on the first element of our task while we're delving more into the bit more technical part. It's a bit tricky then, because if you stick your head out to take the lion's share of the challenge, that's like where your head could get slaughtered if it goes wrong.
We've got to look at the COPE features.
Yeah.
And from there, we have to discuss, we have to rate the risk. In today's task, if we were in the bottom again, I'd have to say, it's difficult, but I'd have to say Jake would have to go home. There's just a little bit lack of input from Jake in terms of this task, and we thought perhaps from his underwriting background we would get a little bit of a better feedback in the session.
Have you guys had a look at the risk?
I've had a look at the risk, yeah. I mean, their claims history is fairly sharp, aside from the fact that they had a fire that burned down the whole factory.
My advice for the contestants today is that they pay attention to what's required in the task. If they go down the wrong road again, it's going to cost them. Welcome back, guys.
Thank you.
So, yeah, take it away.
Awesome. Good afternoon, judges, and thank you very much for having us. As you know, our sponsor for today is Emerald, and they certainly ensured that we had a proper challenge on our hands today. The first part of the challenge for us was assessing the actual physical risk itself. I think some initial concerns for us were the occupation as well as the industry type. So the industry type itself, going one wood, they are a medium density wood fiberboard manufacturing company. And of course, the occupation therein lends to hazardous chemicals, as well as a large quantity of wood in terms of stock. And aside from that, another concern would, of course, be the amount of dust, which can act as an ignition source as well. When we looked at the claims history, the client had suffered a total loss in 2013 where the entire plant burned to the ground. But what was quite reassuring for us from that perspective was the fact that they took more than necessary precautions to ensure that they had provided themselves with the correct or the necessary fire prevention measures.
Do you consider all of the perils? And you said it's a high risk occupancy.
Yes, so we've looked at the environmental risks from a global perspective, and we see that fire is a higher risk since they've had a massive loss and it took out the entire business.
Okay, I just don't see, we've got under your solution number 4, you haven't got fire.
Do you mean in terms of your exposure?
Fire is a peril. You've got theft, flood, windstorm, earthquake, riot strike, substance. Other than lightning, we should put as high everything else is low, but what about the fire exposure?
Okay, well, I think we do speak in terms of your, I just want to go, an increased risk of fire, okay, but that does speak specifically to lightning, but fire is definitely something that we considered. Apologies if it is omitted here, but it's definitely one of the major talking points throughout our presentation. That was an omission on my part, I do apologise.
So did you assess the fire exposure on this? You put lightning in, but did you assess the fire exposure?
I think the assessment came from the fact that that a previous claim had occurred based on the fire, and as Julian reiterated, was that the client had gone through when in reconstruction had put in the fire risk mitigation measures now. It seems to have been omitted there.
But you haven't put that in here.
I omitted it definitely from the exposure level. You're 100% correct, but I can confirm that it was probably the predominant consideration for us in terms of the presentation that we're about to provide.
When we did look at the underwriting, fire was a major underwriting decision based on our rates and based on the grade of the risk. So we did take fire into consideration, but I think we just might have slipped it out.
Omitted it in the actual document.
It's also why we endorsed the policy to ensure that there's fire extinguishers kept on the property at all time, because we did consider the fire risk involved.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're dismissed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Would they have been able to write this business, given that they wanted 20% more, 10% more on the
premium
rates?
than the.
Yeah.
It depends on how desperate the cedent is for us to write it, but probably no, because we're not putting down a large proportion.
Yeah.
They can't put down much, so and they clearly did not consider all the perils, because fire is a major peril in this thing. It's these little extra things, the attention to that detail that is clearly in there, that they, yes, it's at an acceptable rate because, or we want to charge more because, or we want to negotiate because we're paying away more than we're getting.
Good day, judges. Thank you for allowing us to present on behalf of Out Reinsurance Company. We are delighted to announce that we have indeed accepted the risk. Going Wong Wood, MDF, Joint Stock Company.
Thank you, judges, for allowing us to present today. What we have identified upon accepting this risk is that we looked at various items, such as the COPE analysis, as well as the fact that the Vietnam local insurance market does not work on a probable maximum loss. Instead, they cede risks into their treaties based on the sum insured, and that is what we undertake to do. The COPE features determined are as follows. Based on the construction definition of the property, we identified the risk to be an FR type property, which means the building has been built upon international standards, finished on February 2018. The building consists of steel frames and brick material and non-combustible material and poses less of a fire risk.
So with regards to protection of the property itself, warehouses and the manufacturing plant, it's fairly comprehensive. They've got their own fire department, they've installed electric pumps, they've got their own reservoir, so water pressure won't be an issue, and the amount of water should be more than adequate to prevent a fire. Obviously, once a fire has been initiated, they have got access to the local fire authorities. They have got adequate spacing, they've got sprinkler usage, they've got smoke detection, they've got 2 shifts of 12 hours piece, so it's 24-hour production on the process, on the premises. Based on that, we feel that if there was to be a fire, we'd be attacked fairly aggressively and quickly.
I just think, I'm sorry, maybe I missed the answer to the question about, in number 5.4, about the adequacy of the rate.
So with regard to the adequacy of the rate, it was slightly below our mandatory, but we felt that we were very happy with the particular risk, and we were prepared to accept the slight reduction in the rate. It wasn't a huge reduction, so our rate that we had...
So just jump in there, the benchmark rate was 0.2765 and the offer rate was 0.2375.
You're happy with that?
Do you think you're going to make money on this risk?
No, we think we do. We think we would. We think that it's...
Not before, even if there aren't any losses. And what are you getting back for your treaty?
We're getting back, so based on the premium...
No, what are you getting back from your treaty percentage-wise? You said you're paying out
quota share
a percentage. What are you getting back on your treaty? You come.
I want to say 2.5%.
So, 1 minus the other gives you what?
67 point some.
30%.
Gives you a loss. You're paying away more than you're getting back on your commissions from your treaty. So, you're paying away brokerage, you're paying away reinsurance brokerage, and you're paying away an overrider to the cedant. Collectively, they are a greater percentage than the percentage of commission you're getting back on your treaty. So already, you're writing this business at a loss. You're behind on your commissions. You're paying them way more than you're getting before there are any losses. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for feedback.
Right. Good. See you just now.
I actually felt their presentation flowed a little bit better than the first group, and the content appeared to have a better structure
I like
to
the
it.
fact that they
Up
put
front.
calculations in. Even if they were wrong, they still put the calculations in.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They still had some...
But
they had parts of the answer, albeit them wrong. They had parts of the answer there. Actually, in the document they gave us, it wasn't a guessing game.
I just don't feel they had the same thought process as the first team. I just, although I do like that they were adamant in the fact that they said they would accept the risk, they had looked at the rate, the benchmark against the rate, and they had decided that they would accept that they were comfortable with it. So I like the fact that they made a firm decision, even though all their calculations were wrong and they were going to put down $50 million.
That's really strong, brave underwriting.
Yeah, strong, brave underwriting, but at least they made a decision, and you knew what they were going to do. Whereas the first team, I felt like when they walked out, I didn't really know if they were still going to be underwriting this risk or not, and on what basis.
Yeah, These guys were absolutely committed to destroying our business.
Yeah. Ouch.
Chris, you happy?
Yep.
Carla?
Yep, I think I'm good.
Okay, let's get them back in here. Okay, welcome back. I'd just like to thank Carla and Chris and Emerald for sponsoring today's task. I think it was quite challenging. I must admit I was expecting a little more from both groups, but I'm not going to harp on that for now. I'm going to hand over to our guest judges and they can give you some technical feedback.
I think I can say both groups got some things right and some things wrong, and I felt there were pros and cons with both groups. The calculations from one group, although they were verbal, they were on point, they were accurate, and I think that was really good. The other group, however, the calculations, although they were in writing, they were quite confusing and hard to follow, and incorrect. Both teams had, I would say, half the team who had really good presentation skills, and I think you probably know who you are. And I think one of the teams as well gave us a firm decision, and they were quite clear in whether they would accept the risk and on what basis, and the other team sort of faltered a bit, I think halfway through, or they changed their minds. I'm not quite sure what the reasoning was, but those were the few things that I picked up. I think, Chris, you had a peril issue.
Yeah. When you both teams did their presentations, I picked up that you missed out the most important peril as far as we're concerned as property underwriters was fire, and I'm just not sure why you did it. Both teams said lightning, and when I pressed you said, well, it can cause fire. I'm disappointed that you didn't put fire in there as a major peril. And a woodworker, that's the major peril, yeah? Or one of the major perils. I just think you need to pay a bit more attention to the actual understanding the risk. That's why I said to you, read the survey. It's the physical attributes of the risk that are important to it. Thank you, guys.
Kitty?
Yeah, from my side, it was quite interesting to note. Yesterday I gave you feedback about a business, that in business, when you're doing business with your partners, you must look at the value add to the partner. Now today what I observed is you moved from looking after your own business to looking more after the partner, to an extent that one of the groups actually could have shut down our own business in the way you looked at it. Now, we need to ensure that when we're looking at business, you look at it from both sides. You need a relationship, you need a business partner that will rely on you, be confident in terms of what you're offering to them, that it's going to be of value to them, but at the same time, remember we're running a business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, I think our guest judges and Kitty have probably been kind, because I wasn't quite, what I didn't get from either group was how serious the issue of getting reinsurance right actually is for a business. You can't operate where you're giving away more money than you're getting in, and everybody messed up on the commission issue. So I'm disappointed because, like yesterday, you know, there's no clear winner that comes out of that. In fact, if we'd been able to kind of roll the two groups together, maybe we would have had a decent presentation, you know, something that was well delivered with a commitment and that didn't expose our business without reinsurance. So we haven't actually had to do this before in the competition, but there's no winning group today, which really presented us with a challenge, because the person who goes home normally comes from the losing group. So how are we going to decide who this person was going to be? Now, not an easy task. The scoring that we do does, of course, give us an idea of how you managed the task today. So that's what we've really relied on. So before I tell you who's in the bottom three, I would like to know if any of you have a reinstatement card, your immunity card, if you'd like to play that before I make the announcement. Of course, if you play it and you're not in the bottom three, the card is gone. Okay, so the three lowest scores for today, in no particular order, are Reese, Mitesh, and Ditebogo. Now, determining which one of those people will be leaving us today, we're actually going to leave that up to you. And the person who gets the most votes is the one that's going to leave us today. And we can start with you, Gillian.
The person that I'm going to vote off today, oh my sweet heavens.
I'm going to vote off Ditebogo.
I'm voting off Mitesh.
I'm voting off Ditebogo.
I'm voting off Reese.
So there are three of you in the bottom today. Reese, Mitesh, Ditebogo. Your colleagues have all voted. And the first person to leave the contest today is Ditebogo. Ditebogo, you can leave the room.
I'm sad to leave the experience of the Insurance Apprentice. It was a great learning experience. I definitely would not take it back for anything. Thank you to the sponsors who send very encouraging messages on social media, and thank you to the sponsors that sponsored some of the wonderful gifts that we got. And I really enjoyed my experience today. It was out of my depth property, but I learned a lot.
The other two of you that were in the bottom, it was so close today, so close. This was the only way we could resolve it. And I wouldn't keep relying on luck. And to those of you that are in the top, the highest score was in the middle of the 60s out of 100. You can do much better. You're dismissed.
It was obviously a bit tough to be in the bottom three or bottom couple again.
I wish they had done a little better in the task, I must be honest. I don't think any of the contestants really got the task 100%. Actually, I think our top score was in the 60s.
I don't know, the other contestants, they're not really nailing it, you know. It was like yesterday we didn't have a winner, today. So either the tasks are a lot harder than they've been previously, or these guys just aren't really applying themselves yet. And I'm really hoping that we see that improve over the next couple of tasks.